Welcome back to the Crypto's Key Conversation. Happy Monday. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of different topics here. One of the big ones we're going to go through is Johnny Deaton's tweet thread here where he's talking about Ethereum being the only game in town. James K. Fallon have an update when it comes to the Ripple versus the SEC stuff. We're going to be taking a look at some more tweet threads here from Bloomberg talking about SEC Gensler calls for watchdogs to collaborate on crypto oversight, which is quite interesting. And then one of the big topics of discussion is this Dogecoin rallies 9% as Elon Musk takes 9.2% stake in Twitter. Huge topic of discussion that's going around, which is massive. So we're going to take a look at some Intel updates, some updates from the UK government, some Ledger partnerships with the Sandbox, and then we're going to take a look at what happened with Ronin and the status of the hack that happened there, and just going to go over kind of what's happening this week. So, starting with CoinGecko here, we're currently sitting at a $2.25 trillion market cap, currently down 0.1% for the day. And just looking at Bitcoin, there was kind of some up and down going on today. So if we come over here and click in this and kind of look at the 24-hour period, last time I looked at it, it had broke the 45.5 level, which I'm sure caused a concern for some people, but then it shot right back up to 46.5, which is quite nice to see. If we look at a 7-day period here, as you can see, we've kind of just been battling and almost in a sense ranging since we kind of broke our previous resistance. Let me go back here, 14 days. Our previous resistance of that 45,000 level. So there's a lot going on this week. There's a lot of optimism and positivity going on within the space. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin. And obviously, the rest of the market follows Bitcoin. So coming over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're currently sitting at the neutral range, which is better than the extreme fear range. We're sitting at 52. And just yesterday, we were at 48. So we're currently at 4 points, which is pretty positive. I wanted to start with this, and we're going to kind of try to fly through this because we got a lot to get through, but I thought this was extremely important. In our previous video that we've recorded on the channel, we talked about how Johnny Dean had this great thread he talked about how ETH became the only game in town. It was a great tweet thread, and I highly recommend you go back and watch the video, or you come into Johnny Deaton's Twitter and read this thread. But he kind of had like some updates that he kind of adding to the conversation, kind of strengthening his position. So he says, Joseph Lubin is no dummy. In fact, he was a great tactician. On May 4, 2017, Clayton was sworn in as chairman of the SEC. Clayton was a senior partner at Sullivan Cromwell. With 2 months of Clayton being sworn in, Lubin hired Patrick Berarducci from Sullivan and Cromwell. Continuing down here, he says, Berarducci was named Deputy GC of Consensus, co-chair, Brooklyn Project, and Global FinTech co-head, hiring a fellow partner from Sullivan and Cromwell immediately after Clayton's confirmation provided Lubin, Consensus, et al. A direct line to the SEC chair. So then he kind of references this Charles Gasparino tweet here. So then he continues, he says, the direct line to Clayton paid off. At Hinman's deposition, we learned Hinman emailed Lubin directly. The Ripple lawyers implied it was at Clayton's direction. Hinman responded that he did not recall, but why would Hinman reach out and email Lubin directly? Think about it. Yeah, like why? So, obviously we're no dummies. But anyways, he says, Clayton was helping his law firm in one of its major clients. You see, Lubin not only hired a lawyer from Sullivan Cromwell and made him deputy GC, he hired Sullivan and Cromwell to represent himself, Consensus, and to help facilitate the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, so the EEA. So after Hinman emailed Lubin, they met on December 13, 2017. Hinman met with Lubin at least 3 more times, including on June 8, 2018, 6 days before the free pass speech. Of course, Hinman also met with the VC group on March 28, 2018 and relied on Perkins' Coy memo. So before you read the full thread, keep in mind the following. He says, Sullivan Cromwell represents Consensus in the interest of the EEA. Hinman's law firm is a member of the EEA. Perkins Coy is a member of the EEA. The only token mentioned in the Perkins Coy safe harbor is ETH. So he continues saying, Hinman collected $15 million from this EEA law firm while at the SEC. After Hinman followed a Perkins Coy memo giving ETH a regulatory free pass, Hinman was later made a partner at A16Z, the very same fund that hired Perkins Coy to write the memo lobby for ETH's free pass. Consensus acquired Quorum from JP Morgan, supporting the JPM coin and a direct competitor to Ripple and XRP. Sullivan Cromwell brokered the Quorum deal 4 months before the lawsuit against Ripple and XRP. 2 months before the lawsuit, One River bet $1 billion on BTC and ETH. some inside information. They kind of knew what was going on, and we all know that the people that's been following, the Ethereum Free Pass timeline that the community has, pieced together, and following the SEC versus Ripple case, and just kind of diving into kind of the shady scandal that's been happening with ETHGate and Ethereum Free Pass. Like, we all know this information. So Johnny Deaton continues. He says Clayton broke party lines to cast the deciding vote to bring the case. He voted against fellow Republican Hester Pierce and Elad Roisman. Clayton agreed he should recuse himself if a case involved his firm's client, but he voted to bring a case against his client's competitor. This is crazy. This is crazy. It's just crazy that this is actually happening in the United States. Even when we as a community are bringing this, are surfacing all this stuff and bringing it to, our government officials and our representatives, and it's like no one's like biting at the bait. No one's taking the bait and looking into this. There's no investigation going on. But this is all here, and these are facts. This isn't, what do they say, wild speculation. This is, or as they say, unfounded speculation. These are facts of them in their own words, or their documents, or, their written testimony, or whatever the case is. It's like, this is facts, but it's not even being investigated, which is crazy. But they're attacking, Library, and, they're attacking Ripple and XRP. It's nuts. Continuing on here, says Clayton was hired by One River within weeks of leaving the SEC. Director of Enforcement Mark Berger, who helped write the complaint, immediately left, going to Hemans EEA firm Simpson Thacher. Now read the Gruntfest letter, so you can click this and go read it. So then he's talking about, now go read his tweet thread of how ETH became the only game in town. So make sure you go in and do that. He continues on and says, add this to the direct line of communication with the SEC. So I wanted to touch on this. This is from Stefan Huber, so we're going to click in this. So Stefan Huber saying, another smoking gun. The head of Consensus Project Civil bragged in March 2018 about having a direct line to the SEC, which promised not to consider the ICO as security offering. Both the SEC and Consensus would not say anything about it, but referred to the Brooklyn project. So you can come in here and kind of take a look at, or you can pause the screen and kind of come through and read these things that he had put up here. We have some great, researchers and people bringing out some great information, like Stefan Huber, digital asset investor, Johnny Deaton, great people in the community that's really doing the good work, fighting the good fight. Stefan Huber continues and says, with Civil, Lubin wanted to create a truly decentralized news platform. The rules of the platform would be determined by token holders. But guess what? Surprise, surprise. Consensus brought 80% of the tokens and tried to disguise their holdings, again with support of the SEC. Crazy, crazy, crazy times. Crazy things that, we're dealing with. This is crazy. So another update here is from James K. Fineland, and I want to thank him for all the great work he puts in as well. He says, Ripple responds to the SEC motion regarding the redactions and relies on the SEC's representations in the court's review to determine whether the redacted portions expressly reflect the author's own thinking or reflect deliberations or communications among SEC staff during the meeting. Essentially, because of the court and the SEC have seen the unredacted documents, Ripple must defer to the court to decide whether the redacted portions are in fact protected by DPP. So it's kind of just a waiting game now. XRP Crypto Wolf says, the problem with the SEC is that they want to hide every single document, especially the ones related to XRP and ETH. What happened to transparency within our own government organizations? Yeah, great point. Continuing on here, Johnny Deaton's responding to Brian Quintez's tweet where he says, ha ha ha, someone is starting to lose control of the narrative when they publicly call for coordination. So let me come over here. I think I got these backed up. Right here. So they're talking about SEC Chair Gensler calls for Watchdog to collaborate on crypto oversight. So coming back over here, it says, Johnny Deaton says the SEC conduct inconsistency, lack of clarity in its attempt to pick winners and losers within the crypto space should bar it from having jurisdiction over crypto assets moving forward. And I 100% agree. I mean, you've lost any sort of right that you had. So continuing on here, I love this too. Real XRP boy put up this GIF. It almost seems like he got knocked down a few steps, kind of humbled himself like, okay, yeah, we're going to need some help here. Quite interesting. So right here, Digital Asset Investor had put this up, and he says, without the XRP community, this doesn't happen. Be proud. We fought the good fight. We aren't done yet. So he's responding to Crypto Well that says, just in, SEC Chair Gensler says, HC is considering how to split oversight of crypto exchanges between the SEC and CFTC. So I completely agree. All of us that are out there, whether you're making videos, spreading the word, on retweeting things, doing research, surfacing information, and bringing it out to the community to educate everybody. Those are truly the people that are out there fighting the good fight. Because quite honestly, it isn't the major players, in government or in the industry that have brought out this. It's literally, as they call us, Twitter sleuths or Twitter investigators that's really been doing the good work, and obviously YouTubers as well. So hats off to the community and continue to fight the good fight, because it's not just about Ripple and XRP or Library. It's about the entire industry. It's about our entire space. So we got to fight for what's right for this space, so this space can flourish and be successful. Stefan Huber put up this great tweet. It says, "How to launch an SEC-approved token: hire a law firm and a high-ranking SEC official. Issue your token on Ethereum. Hint, hint. It must be on Ethereum. Disclose nothing. Disguise your identity and holdings. Advertise it as community-driven. Take profits for yourself. Do not invest further in development." I mean, this is crazy that this is it. And you know what's crazy with this part right here? It says disclose nothing, disguise your identity and holdings. You actually had Library's founder in an interview with Johnny Dean, I think, came out and truly said that. Like, he was pretty much recommending these entrepreneurs to not be transparent about things, because it only comes to bite you in the butt, which is crazy to think, but that's kind of where things are at with the SEC kind of overstepping and regulating by enforcement. It's crazy. So now on the big news that's been the talk of the town is Elon Musk, taking 9.2% stake in Twitter. So I put it in the thumb. I'm going to be putting in the thumbnail. Elon Musk is at it again. Is he a friend or foe of the space? Obviously, he's a foe of the space. A friend, not a foe. A friend. I think he's truly positive, a positive light for the entire space, especially when it comes to the right to democracy and, decentralization. This is just my opinion based on what I know. But obviously him having a huge stake in Twitter is absolutely massive. So it says, according to the SEC filing, Musk has purchased almost 73.5 million shares of common stock Twitter, trading at $39.31, up to 2.8 billion. So obviously he's I think he's the biggest stakeholder. Obviously the Twitter stock went up 26%. Dogecoin, because people are kind of speculating, Elon Musk, Dogecoin, there must be something involved with it. So it went up 9%, currently sitting at 15.3 at the time of this article. But the big thing I wanted to talk about was what he's been tweeting lately. So he says, free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter is rigorously adheres to this principle? And out of over 2 million votes, 70% said no. And then he put up another tweet, and I tried to find it, but I just didn't feel like going through all of it. But he was pretty much saying, trying to find a decentralized algorithm, or to how to implement a decentralized algorithm. And an overwhelming number of voters, I think, was in the same range. Like, millions of people have voted saying yes, they would rather have an algorithm that's more decentralized and that isn't so-called controlled by a central party, which is massive. And that's why I say I think he's a positive light within the space. So if you have something like this and you can kind of make free speech essential to a massive social platform like Twitter, that is extremely huge, and that's extremely healthy for our space. Because when it comes to the crypto space, obviously you have Reddit, you have Telegram and Discord, but Twitter and YouTube are massive breeding grounds for more investors learning about the crypto space, and people whether they're a news channel or just talking about certain projects. Crypto is heavily talked about on those platforms. So for Twitter and Elon Musk to have a massive voice within the Twitter space to try to push this agenda, that's extremely massive. So I know there's been a lot of Twitter accounts that's been suppressed, whether it's a phantom suppression or it's an intentional suppression. I think Elon Musk kind of stepping in and having a voice and being able to put out this essential speech, pretty much increasing people's voices being heard and not being suppressed. I think that is absolutely massive. So I think this is extremely positive. And Elon Musk is a big deal, and not just in the crypto space, but just in the tech space in general. So this is a big talk of the town, and I wanted to make sure I covered that. So here goes another one from Cointelegraph. It says, Intel launches new Bitcoin mining chip, Blockscale. The company indicated that the device is designed in part for energy efficient blockchain hashing. So we talked about this a while ago, but it says, quote, "We are proud to collaborate with and provide solutions to companies that are creating a more sustainable cryptocurrency ecosystem globally. The Intel Blockscale ASIC will play a major role in helping Bitcoin mining companies achieve both sustainability and hash rate scaling objectives in years ahead." So that's absolutely massive. Right here, UK government moves forward with regulatory framework on stablecoins for payments. It says, quote, "If crypto technologies are going to be a big part of the future, then we, the UK, want to be in on the ground floor," says the Economic Secretary of Treasury, John Glenn. That's absolutely positive. That's huge. I like this one too. It says, Ledger partners with the Sandbox to promote crypto education in the metaverse. So if you've been watching, the channel a lot, checking out all the videos on a daily basis for the most part, I've talked a lot about like how massive education is, because obviously there's millions and millions of people and, thousands of companies and major institutions and corporations sitting on the sideline. First of all, based out of, lack of education, lack of, faith and trust in the space, due to lack of regulatory clarity in the space. But I think education is probably the most pivotal and most important aspect of things. Because I know for me in particular, when I first started investing into the space, it was obviously a speculation, right? A lot of it is, but it's like I got into the space just looking at numbers. I saw things going high, so I started to jump in. Getting wrecked a lot. I didn't really know much about, the technology and what the space had to, what the space had to offer, in the greater scheme of things. And now, with me being educated, me learning about, the different projects, the different technologies, the use case they have, what problem they're trying to solve, I think that's absolutely massive. So as education goes around and people learn more about the space in general, I think it's going to be healthy for the entire space. It's going to be healthy for the investors and healthy for the entire space, which in turn is going to help the space grow. But they're in particular talking about like the safety and education within like, custodying your own digital assets and obviously more education within the space in general. But obviously Ledger is one of those, hard wallets companies or, self-custody wallets when it comes to holding your assets. But it says the French crypto wallet company Ledger will educate people about crypto security using virtual reality of the Sandbox. So right here it says, quote, The reality is that educated people become Ledger customers, which I agree. And so we just want to make sure that all people have all the education they need to be safe and to properly manage this incredible right and freedom they have of self-custody. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's super positive, and I think it's necessary. This is huge. Here goes an update. It says nearly 7 million of hacked Ronin funds sent to Privacy Mixer Tornado Cash. Following the recent 622 million attack on Axie Infinity's sidechain Ronin, some of the funds are now on the move. So we're going to keep track of kind of how things turn out with this. Obviously, I told you apparently when it comes to the governing bodies of Axie Infinity side of things, I guess they said they were going to make their investors whole, so which is positive. I don't know when it's going to happen or if it started happening, but here goes an update of kind of what's happening with the stolen funds. So now, lastly, obviously, I was saying Bitcoin is kind of moving around, kind of bouncing around. We're still, holding above the support level. I'm not a TA guy. This is just based on the information I've gotten. So it's to see it at this is pretty positive. But there's been talk of, we may see some massive price action. So obviously, we have, UST and Terra. They're backing their UST stablecoin with Bitcoin reserves, trying to buy up to 10 billion worth of Bitcoin. They've already bought up, I think it was like over 2 billion or something like that. So obviously you have that massive narrative. Now you have, the Elon Musk stuff, which brings a lot of positivity within the space. And one of the big things here is this Bitcoin Miami, this conference at the Miami Beach Convention Center, which is going to be massive. You're going to have big industry players, up there talking, interacting. And I'm sure, just like last year, they had, I think it was the announcement of El Salvador and their adoption of Bitcoin pretty much. So I wonder if there's going to be some major news that's going to be announced after this or, during this conference. So there's a lot of positivity coming within the space, for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to see what happens with the price of Bitcoin, the action of the entire market following Bitcoin. So I'm pretty excited to see what's going on. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.